What you should know about affordable housing. Families place a high priority on adequate, affordable housing. It undoubtedly meets a fundamental human need for shelter, but it also helps the well-being of both parents and children. According to studies, children who live in stable homes do better in school and are less likely to encounter disruptions in their education due to undesired relocation. Good, inexpensive housing decreases stress, pollutants, and infectious illness, resulting in better physical and mental health. Affordable housing also frees up resources in families' already strapped budgets for healthcare and food. According to research, children whose parents get housing aid benefit from improved nutrition. Living in excellent, reasonable housing also implies less stress for parents since there is less fear that high housing expenses will lead to foreclosure and eviction. This, in turn, leads to fewer physical and mental health issues and lower absenteeism at work. Let us now go further into the topic of affordable housing. What is affordable housing? Affordable housing is described as housing that families can afford while still having enough money for other necessities such as food, transportation, and health care. What is considered affordable is determined by a household's income. Housing is considered inexpensive by the federal government if it takes only around 30% of its income. So, who requires inexpensive housing? Everyone. From high-income earners to hourly wage laborers, homeless folks, and everyone in between. The cheap rent or home price may differ from one family to the next, yet everyone shares the desire for inexpensive housing. Though many states define affordable housing differently, the basic concept remains the same: affordable housing should meet the housing requirements of poor and middle-income families. Affordable housing becomes a critical problem, particularly in developing countries where the majority of the people cannot afford to purchase dwellings at market prices. Affordable housing is in insufficient quantity in many areas. This is particularly problematic since, on average, the richest areas are also the least affordable, implying that a shortage of cheap housing may keep individuals out of excellent jobs. Rent control, inclusionary zoning ordinances, and targeted subsidies are just a few of the tools available to policymakers to address affordability concerns, but economic experts largely believe that the only thorough method of reducing prices is to increase the supply of homes, which is usually done by changing zoning rules to make them more favorable to new. What can we do to make housing more accessible? In terms of housing affordability, there are two main sorts of measures that might make a significant difference. The government may provide low-income families with money or homes at a reduced cost, for starters. In any case, a family that obtains a free home can now afford to live in one. On the other hand, families with more money may afford a larger selection of homes. Second, in a given metropolitan area, policymakers could increase the number of people who live there. This might be accomplished by either removing constraints on the size of buildings that can be erected or removing restrictions on the size of individual housing units that must be built to a certain size. There are a lot of zoning regulations in cities that artificially limit the number of houses available. Types of affordable housing. The Housing Authority operates several low-income housing initiatives that help low-income families that are qualified. The United States is a major contributor to several of these initiatives. Housing and Urban Development Department, HUD. A description of each program is given below. 1. Tenant-Based Voucher Rental Assistance Program. The Tenant-Based Voucher Rental Assistance Program, often known as Section 8 and the Housing Choice Voucher Program, helps low-income families rent a home or apartment of their choice from a landlord in the normal rental market if they meet certain income requirements. To best serve the varied demographics on this program, households served through this program are allocated into one of the following sub-programs. 1.1. The Streamlined Lease Assistance Program. It is a program that helps elderly and disabled people who live in their own homes. The Streamlined Lease Assistance Program, implemented in 2015, offers a streamlined rent computation. Depending on the household type, families pay either 24% or 30% of their gross yearly income towards rent. 1.2. The Term Limited Lease Support Program, FLAP. The Term Limited Lease Support Program, implemented in 2012, offers non-elderly/non-disabled families a 5-year restriction on rental assistance hardship exemptions. Coaches and referrals to supporting services and career possibilities are offered from designated personnel. This program assists new non-senior/non-disabled families drawn from the tenant-based voucher rental assistance program waiting list, port-in households, and select households that relocate out of specific project-based voucher housing programs. Because the federal government only funds a set number of homes, the waiting list for this program is often closed and only reopens every few years. As existing households leave the program, new households are helped. Even though a family may be qualified, serving them via attrition results in significant wait periods. 2. Project-based voucher program. The project-based voucher program assists families residing in specified housing locations with their rent. Because rental aid is connected to the unit, a family that moves loses eligibility for housing help. The Housing Authority manages separate waiting lists for each project-based housing site depending on bedroom size. These housing complexes are either multifamily or senior housing. 3. Pilot homeless programs. The organization focuses on sheltering street homeless families with children. The goals are to increase the children's educational and well-being and the parents' economic growth. 4. Special purpose voucher programs for specific housing types. For families with disabilities who are homeless or mentally ill, the HUD-funded grant collaborates with the Department of Behavioral Health. 5. Program for Public Housing. The Public Housing Program, often known as the Affordable Housing Program, offers rental assistance to households residing in housing authority-owned and managed apartments. How do you qualify for low-income housing? While eligibility varies by state and locality, the key factors for qualifying for low-income housing include family status, income level, citizenship status, and eviction history. In any event, if you are looking for government-subsidized, low-income housing, you'll need to give a lot of information to your local public housing authority to establish your credentials. 1. Family status. To acquire housing choice vouchers, HUD will assess your family's situation to see whether it meets their requirements. HUD describes a family as a single person or a group of individuals that includes a family, who have children or not. An elderly family is defined as a family in which the head, spouse, or single member is at least 62 years old or one or more people over the age of 62 who live with one or more live-in aides. A disabled family is a family in which the head, spouse, or only member has a disability or one or more individuals with disabilities who have one or more live-in aides. A displaced family in which each member of the single member has been relocated due to governmental action or whose residence has been significantly damaged or destroyed due to a federally declared catastrophe. A surviving member of a tenant family is a member of an assisted tenant family who remains in the unit after the other family members have left. A single individual who is neither old nor displaced has a disability or is the last member of a tenant family. 2. Level of income. HUD sets income restrictions for housing aid based on family size and updates the amount yearly, which can be seen on HUD's datasets portal here. There are 2 primary income restrictions for eligibility for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. According to HUD, the very low income limit is often set at 50% of the local median income and is most commonly used to assess initial program eligibility. 3. Status of citizenship. Federal housing aid is only available to U.S. citizens and applicants with appropriate immigration status. People claiming qualifying immigration status must provide their immigration paperwork, which your local housing authority must validate through the U.S. Service for Immigration and Naturalization. Every applicant household applying for the Housing Choice Voucher Program must sign a certification stating that each household member is a U.S. citizen, an eligible immigrant, or declares the individual's ineligibility. 4. History of eviction. You must notify your housing authority of any previous evictions, both individually and among members of your family. According to HUD, anybody evicted from public housing or any Section 8 program for drug-related felonies is ineligible for assistance for at least 3 years from the date of eviction. In addition, based on our research, affordable housing has plenty of benefits you will gain. So, here are a few of them. Keep reading. Affordable housing benefits. The following list demonstrates the advantages of cheap housing in several crucial areas. 1. Opportunities. Affordable housing developments provide several chances for economic expansion while promoting a stable, healthy population. When people are secure in their homes, they may change their emphasis from surviving to flourishing. Individuals begin to create goals, attain milestones, and live their lives with meaning if they have a stable location, a secure place to call home, and a feeling of belonging within their community. We understand that it is impossible to construct a life without a secure place to live. Many low-income people have access to these possibilities because of affordable housing. 2. A peaceful community. One of the most pervasive myths is that cheap housing harms communities. Opposition to inexpensive, supportive, or transitional housing is often founded on assumptions about the demographic living in the development. Commonly used fallacious arguments ignore advantages and maintain that there would be an increase in crime, trash, thefts, and violence in the area, as well as a decrease in property values. Affordable housing also helps build new towns by encouraging additional development and investment from local governments. With higher disposable income, affordable housing occupants have more purchasing power in the neighborhood, boosting the expansion of local shops and companies and supporting business owners. 3. Employment and education. Affordable housing generates job prospects in ways you may not have considered before. While low-income housing is a resource for many people, the stability that comes with a fixed address may be life-changing for those who are no longer homeless. Furthermore, when adults spend just 30% of their income on rent, they may have the option to return to school, improve credentials, or finish certification courses, leading to more meaningful work and higher confidence. 4. Essentials and health. Affordability promotes both mental and physical well-being. Tenants remaining cash from living in a low-cost building may be used to buy healthier foods, vital medications, and pay the expenses of important services such as dental or eye care. Living in cheap housing helps mental health by reducing stress and providing additional cash. Households pressured by housing obligations will make cuts wherever possible out of necessity, often jeopardizing their well-being. 5. Income stability. Income stability and financial assistance options are both undervalued and sometimes overlooked advantages of low-cost living. It is tough to get work and file taxes for benefits if you do not address it. For individuals trying to make ends meet, affordable housing is a lifeline. Affordable housing enhances inhabitants' lives while strengthening, growing, and sustaining communities from education to acquiring necessities. Moreover, the federal government is constantly concerned with the well-being of its citizens. Thus, they strategize inexpensive homes for everyone to have access to. State policy strategies for promoting affordable housing. States may assist boost the availability of affordable housing in various ways. Homes. These are some examples. 1. Create legal rights to encourage the creation of affordable housing in underserved regions where they are required. States can make it easier to build new houses that are affordable by the creation of rights to build these dwellings in regions where they are desperately required. In most cases, these rights identify an enforcement agency or state court that hears an issue, which gives them teeth. Developers whose plans to create affordable houses have been rejected have accelerated their appeals. In failing municipalities, the enforcement agency has the right to overturn local ordinances to meet the state's standards. 2. Require municipalities to create affordable housing strategies. Municipalities are required in certain states to engage in planning procedures that aid in identifying development possibilities for affordable houses and increase the efficiency with which they are delivered in the local area. Consequently, a housing element or plan might be included in a comprehensive plan that is updated regularly, lays the groundwork for future growth, and informs local choices on land usage. 3. Provide incentives to developers to stimulate the construction of affordable housing. While incentive programs are more popular at the municipal level, governments may also set up programs to provide financial incentives to developers who create affordable housing. In certain circumstances, public cash is supplied directly to developers as a direct incentive to stimulate new buildings. For municipalities should be given incentives to encourage the creation of affordable housing. Instead of offering incentives to developers, governments might provide incentives to municipalities that encourage the building of affordable housing. Incentives might take the form of direct cash prizes, preferential consideration for distribution of state funding, or access to otherwise inaccessible resources. 5. Enact laws to permit and promote necessary local action. Most nations use a combination of these two systems, making it critical for states to provide suitable enabling laws to permit necessary local action to boost economic possibilities of low-cost housing. Enabling well-designed legislation. A. Guarantees that state legislation does not obstruct the use of key local measures for promoting affordable housing, such as tax breaks. Tax breaks, tax increment financing, and inclusionary zoning are examples of tax breaks. B. Lessens the possibility that local governments' policies will be challenged in court, and C. Assists municipalities in reducing the learning curve by recommending one or more good program options for their consideration. 6. Increase the funds available for low-cost housing. One of the most significant barriers to creating new affordable dwellings is a lack of funds. States may address this shortage by creating additional resources, organized in several ways, such as a housing trust fund, bond issuance, tax credits, or other initiatives. The funds may be provided directly to developers by the relevant state agency or municipal allocations. 7. Increase the effectiveness of strategies for distributing current resources. The state agencies in charge of administering federal housing programs have a lot of leeway in deciding how to prioritize the distribution of program benefits. States may enhance the usability of these resources and provide special attention for actions that address recognized housing difficulties and gaps by examining their procedures for awarding funding within each program and across all programs to ensure they are well coordinated. 8. As educators and conveners, they can urge required local action. A first but critical step is to bring together the many state agencies involved in affordable housing to ensure that their policies are coordinated and helpful. An appropriate next step would be to form a state-level working committee to draft a comprehensive state housing policy. Is affordable housing the same as Section 8? Section 8 housing is a kind of rental assistance based on a project. Rent is subsidized, and the amount you pay is calculated depending on your monthly income, less specific deductions. On the other hand, affordable housing has a variety of income levels that may be met. The rent in these communities varies based on the intended income level for each apartment, making them accessible to a broad spectrum of people. The majority of affordable housing complexes also provide market rate units. Even though market rate rentals are typically quite reasonable, these flats have no income limitations. Furthermore, do you intend to apply for Section 8 online? The good news is that Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher applications are available online, via mail, or at the local housing authority's office, depending on the public housing agency. As a result, your fundamental necessities are at your fingertips. Contact us for further information, and we would be pleased to assist you. Is there low-income housing available in Virginia? The Housing Choice Voucher, HCV, program offers adequate, affordable housing to low-income individuals and families, including those with disabilities and seniors. Virginia Housing is in charge of distributing vouchers. Virginia Housing reinvests a portion of its net revenue into Virginia communities via REACH, Resources Enabling Affordable Community Housing in Virginia. REACH Virginia, a program of Virginia Housing, provides one-time and multi-year funding. Virginia Housing leverages this diverse resource to support critical housing efforts via homeownership, rental, and community outreach programs. In addition, Virginia Housing functions as a liaison between federal and state initiatives, such as the HUD Housing Counseling Program and federal money. Grant programs are offered in financial opportunities and are granted via a competitive or eligibility procedure. Requirements for eligibility: not-for-profit organizations, governmental organizations, Religious organizations. Eligibility restrictions will be specified for each funding opportunity. Eligibility criteria and application procedures vary per program. Each program offers awards in particular areas of expertise. The funding announcement will include information on the grant program's timing, eligibility, objectives, results, and unique criteria. Prospective candidates are encouraged to go through all of the material supplied.